10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
If for the country shortage of money needed to implement all the policies and projects of the government, meaning your income is much less than your expenses, you will have financial crisis.
So, ano yung nagkakos, sir, ng financial crisis?
So, for individual, ang common cause ng financial crisis ay katamaran, laziness. There is law given to us, our God, that we should work and from the income we are earning, we will use that for our everyday needs. So, all of us must work, exert energy to earn money for our family, for our country, and if you earn money, you will pay taxes to the government so that the government can provide us everything we need in this country.
Eh yung ano, sir, yung effect po ng financial crisis sa economy?
The effect of financial crisis in our economy, since we will not be able to meet all our obligations, the country to have so many obligations external. The country needs more things for our countrymen. We need schools, hospitals, policemen, firemen to protect us and the whole society. If there is no money or there is financial crisis, we cannot afford to buy even one fire truck to stop or to prevent fire. We cannot buy one mobile car to be used by policemen. We cannot buy one ambulance to serve those who are sick. We cannot put up hospitals. Many will die. We cannot put up schools. Our country will remain below the standard the world is expecting. That is why we must try to avoid to have financial crisis.
So, para sa inyo, sir, ano po yung pwedeng maging solution para hindi po magkaroon ng financial crisis?
Yeah. On the government side, we must have officers from president down to the lowest member ng government. Number one, they must be honest. They must fulfill their duties. They will protect the assets of the country coming from the people. They are paying income tax, and this income tax will be used by the government for the needs of our country. We will have everything we need. There will be school, hospitals, fire, things to fight in case there is fire. Yung mga fire equipment, yung mga things needed by policemen to protect our country and our city and local government. We must have teachers who will guide students so that they will grow and earn more money. And everybody must help so that we can improve our economy to solve economic crisis.
Thank you. Crisis, sir.
Global financial crisis is the collapse of the financial market in the international trade or agreement in different countries.
Ng global financial
Last decade, nag-start yung tinatawag natin global financial crisis because of the mortgage problem of the US. Tapos nag-trigger siya ng tinatawag natin ng global recession. Maraming tao na ng trabaho. Bakit? Kasi it's just as simple as nangyari sa US market kasi they have lowered the interest rate. They have lowered the interest rate so different people can lend money to the bank with no collateral and no collateral, and then the others can easily avail loans. Ang nangyari, it's yung circulation of money, it's medyo nagkaroon ng problema. So that triggered the global financial crisis.
So ano po yung sir, effect sa mga tao tsaka sa country?
Yung sinabi ko na, it's a Great Depression. So, Great Depression, sorry, it's yung tinatawag natin recession. Marami nawawalan ng trabaho. It's because ang pinaka-major solution natin is cost cutting as well as cost efficiency para ma-maintain natin yung supply and demand of different products and services.
How to explain the 2008 U.S. financial crisis to your kids by Say It Visually. Picture a teeter-totter. It's fun when they're going up and down. It's not fun when they're standing still. That's how our economy works. Real money and promises about money go back and forth in a constantly changing balance. It's called credit. Buying a house is a good example. Houses are expensive. So, people promise a bank more money later to borrow a little money today. The promise they make, sort of an IOU, is called a mortgage. They get the house today. The bank actually owns the house. That's called collateral. Every month, they pay a little bit back. The bank collects a lot more money than they loaned out in the long run. Having the money to lend is called depository banking because banks have to maintain big deposits of money to loan out. Another way money and promises go back and forth is called investing. Businesses are supposed to make more money than they spend, but sometimes they need money to get started or to run, so they'll promise some of the excess money from the future to get starting money today. The promise they make is called a security. Handling securities is a lot like handling money. So these banks are called investment banks. So, basically, there are two kinds of credit activities. You could say depository banks sell money for promises. You could say investment banks sell promises for money. Until about 10 years ago, the rules set by the government after the Great Depression kept depository activities and investment activities separate. Then, in 1999, the government eliminated some of these rules in what they called the Financial Services Modernization Act. Suddenly, modern financial services companies could do both. This connected depository activities with investment activities. For example, groups of mortgages were bundled together and sold to investors. These mortgage-backed securities looked safe. After all, don't people always pay for their houses? Shortly after this, the federal government also decided to help more people get houses. They sort of lowered the borrowing money side of the depository totter to help more people get on. Millions who couldn't have afforded to promise house payments before suddenly could. But it turned into what's called a boom. Lots of people wanted to buy faster than houses could be built, so the price went up. People temporarily forgot that up is always balanced by down. Many big financial services companies sold mortgage-backed securities, big bundles of promises. And since house prices were going up, investors worldwide thought they might return a lot of money. But the thing depended on most homeowners making their mortgage payments. Then, the house-buying teeter tipped back up. Some house payments became a lot more expensive, and some people who'd promised mortgage payments couldn't afford them. They basically had to jump off the end, and you know what happens when someone does that. House prices dropped and the boom disappeared. But the other end propped up the investment totter. The collateral houses weren't worth as much as the long-term mortgage payments. Without these, banks had to use their own deposits to pay investors. After a while, they just ran out. When a bank runs out of money to meet its promises, it has to close down. That's just what happened. Now the government is trying to decide what to do. Help homeowners? Banks? Investors? It's a worldwide problem. Meanwhile, the back and forth of money and promises that keeps the economy moving is slowing down. It affects currencies, businesses, hospitals, households, and everything. Credit is like air going in and out of a body. We can't keep running without it. We changed the rules to modernize our financial system, but we didn't get the job done. How do we fix this and restore responsible balance between money and promises?